Morning, guys.
Morning, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, so it looks like we all needed to set up an account for ClassDojo and then look at its advantages and disadvantages. So did anybody have anything they really liked about ClassDojo?
I kind of liked how it was animated and it looked like even maybe the parents can be involved in it and like they can see the kids' progress and then the kids can earn, I guess, like stickers or rewards for every time they surpass an acad or a behavioral goal, I guess. I don't know, I thought that was kind of cool. It does seem a little bit childish though with all the animation, but it still seemed pretty cool.
I liked that it seemed really intuitive and user friendly. The ones that I looked at, I thought it was the simplest to use. It appeared that way, and I also liked that it was really easy to kind of bridge that gap between teachers and students, and that can facilitate communication.
I thought that I kind of agree with what you guys are saying, really. I agree, especially what Janelle said about it looking a bit young. So it looks like it's really catered towards younger students as opposed to, like, I teach 15 to 19-year-olds, and I don't know whether it would be so appropriate, especially not when we get up to 19. Even 15, it seems a little bit too kind of immature for it, but it's a good idea, and I think definitely for younger students, grade 6, grade 7, it could really work quite well. I also thought that rewarding good behavior in a real kind of tangible way, you get rewards for it in the app, in the program. I think it works so much better than from a teacher, or just usually, as I guess we all know, good students don't really get much praise or attention because they're just good students, whatever, and bad students get all the attention because they are the ones not performing as they should be, so the teacher focuses on them. So it's quite a good way of making sure that the good students get their fair share of attention as well.
Nice, good comment. I mean, I don't really have too much to add either. I think it's great to bridge the gap, like we said. But the platform itself for animation, yeah, it's a little juvenile, but that's okay though, because I think for younger students, even if you used it for older students, I mean, it's still a way to communicate. But something more sleek, more refined. An example would be, I don't know, something a little bit more academic, maybe using actual visuals. Okay, a good example would be Duolingo, the app, how it's very cartoony I mean, adults can use that as well, but it's very illustrated compared to Rosetta Stone, where they would pick out, that's way dated, I think, now, but they would use actual images of people and whatnot. So I guess different styles, but yeah, Dojo seems pretty cool. Juan, you have anything to say?
I think as a teacher, I still set up on classes. I think Class Dojo is a great way to connect with parents.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, the communicating with the parents aspect, I think, is one of the best advantages of ClassDojo, especially for younger students. When I was working in a preschool, we had several teachers who used ClassDojo because communicating with parents was a really integral part of the job, and we had to do it multiple times a day, every day. So when you have it for the right level, it's actually a really good tool.
Okay, cool. So
I guess I'm the one that.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry about that.
I haven't. No, you're fine. You're fine. I've used ClassDojo in the past when I was an elementary teacher, and it was real easy to maneuver and give points right away to students that were, or take points away for that matter. But at the same time, I'm with Mike. I teach high school as well, and that age group, it does seem a little childish for them to do something, use something like that.
So I've never used the app, so I'll ask you and Christine and anybody else who's used it. So the way it works is you're communicating through email. Is that correct?
Parents will sign up to have access to your class through Class Dojo. And I'm being a parent, my 10-year-old daughter, last year, her 4th grade class used it. And so I can go on the app and see how she's doing in class.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. It's real time. Yeah.
That's super cool. So you're seeing her grades, you're seeing comments.
Not grades. It's really more of a classroom management thing. So
Okay.
like behavior.
Okay.
There's a place for notes and notations, but it's more for a classroom behavior aspect.
Okay, that's cool.
How her teacher used it last year as well.
Christine, so can you give an example of how you've used it in the past? If you have, I thought you said that you did.
I haven't used it personally.
Okay.
I just knew teachers who did use it. They used it a lot for posting photos and videos. It's kind of like a private Facebook group in that sense, is that, it seemed like it had the timeline where you could put all that information. But I didn't know particularly how he used it for classroom management, but going through the website, good tool for that, and a good tool for more individualized feedback directly to the parents and the students. So I can definitely see how it would have its advantages for younger learners.
Nice. So how could we utilize it? How would you utilize it, Alicia, if you had to use that app, or if you could find another app of similar nature for your students? Because I know that you're saying that some kids commute really far. Your background seems very diverse as far as the relationships with the students and the teacher, the parents. So how would you utilize it?
I think something like this would be nice in like an ideal situation where all the kids and the parents and the teachers are all connected to the internet or data. But it would not be very successful because I wouldn't be able to reach everyone. But it seems to me like a nice way to visualize and reinforce positive and negative behavior. One thing that I saw on the website, they had like their own Class Dojo tutorial, not the YouTube one that I shared around. But they had like the teacher taking pictures and updating parents while the class was going on, which I thought was, at least for a secondary school teacher, I can't speak for elementary, but that's quite unrealistic. I don't see myself doing that. Maybe I could document the class and update parents later in the day. But in general, I think in an ideal situation, it would be a very useful tool.
Nice. And then how about you, Janelle? So you say that you've used it already, is that correct? Oh, fix your mic first. There you go.
Struggling. No, I don't. I haven't used it before, but I do have special ed K through 5th graders. And so it would probably be like beneficial to use in my classroom, but we already have so much stuff that we have to do as a teacher. We have to record their data all the time. And it's like, I don't want to have to go to another platform just to do that. I want to keep using what I'm using.
Yeah, makes sense. But it's an option perhaps later down the line. And then for Michael and Yuan, is this something that interests you, Michael, to use? You said that it's not very age appropriate. Is there another option to use, like another platform?
So the problem that I had with this kind of this task was that we already kind of have such a system in the school that I'm using. I teach at rather. So for attendance, for example, and general stuff about behavior and contacting parents and linking everything together, we've got a system called ManageBack, which is really useful for all of that, and it's really kind of age appropriate in the sense that it's not juvenile in the same way. It's very kind of formal, but still very easy to use, and so on and so forth. The one thing that ManageBack does not have, which there could be another platform for, would be the specific stuff about behavior. So, rewarding good behavior and making a list of the little things, such as talking out of turn in class. ManageBack doesn't really have that, whereas Class Dojo does. And it would be nice to have a different platform that has that aspect to it, but doesn't have the kind of childlike tendencies that Class Dojo and a lot of the other platforms that we've been looking at has. The question is, for high school students, should that even exist? Should we have like a behavior service for a 17-year-old student? Does it really matter to them or their parents if they spoke out of turn in a class today?
Yeah.
Something that I've been thinking about this week. I don't know how much that's needed. My students, when you get to that age, if they don't want to turn up to class, they don't turn up to class. Simple as that. So the people that do turn up to class, they picked their subjects in my school anyway. So they're at least somewhat interested. They've passed by that immature stage of 15, 16, where rebellion, just for rebellion's sake, is still really fun. And then they're just, if they don't want to go to class, they don't go to class. Simple as that. And if they come to class, they tend to be well behaved. So it might be nice to have more of an age-appropriate behavioral system for older students, but I'm not entirely sure whether it's required. I don't know how many of you guys teach older students. I don't know what you guys would think about it.
So it almost becomes more of a dialogue between the teacher and the students when it becomes secondary teaching. So yeah, I think it almost would serve a purpose. Honestly, like, I don't know if there has to be other platforms out there. I'm not privy to them yet. So I think, like, if there was a communication system, I think the video that we first saw in the program, there was one, maybe it was Dojo, I don't think it was. It was called, like, White...
Do you guys look into TeacherKit? Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Sorry to interrupt,
No, you're fine.
but I mean, what exactly TeacherKit? So I don't know if anybody looked into that.
Is that another option?
But they have.
That's the other option for the
Yeah.
the project.
Yeah, I used it a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
So that was one of the apps that they suggested we also look into. And it has class management, student management, attendance, behavior. We can import and export all of the data. It's very, it's not cartoony. It's meant more for like the teacher, I would say, but because you can export the data, you can use it for parents, you can use it for the students.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
So yeah.
So we're losing the screen right now. TeacherKit. Okay. Because I didn't look at that.
It was one of the apps that, like, was on the list of things to look at. I looked at it as well, to be fair, and it was like you said, Christine. It was a better option than Class Dojo for that more mature, I guess, kind of layout. Anyway, so yeah, it was a better option again, but it was just my quandary was more whether any behavioral tracking is needed for the older kids. But definitely, if I were to use one out of the apps that we looked at, TeacherKit was for older students in general, just for contacting parents, attendance, grades, having it all on the same kind of report card. I don't know if anyone else.
And that's kind of what I was getting at too. Like, I think, yes, it would be good to have an app, a platform where at least your peers could communicate to each other, your class could communicate to each other through the teacher. You could post all your assignments there. Whether the parents need to be involved or not for the secondary kids, but I'm looking at. I have the TeacherKit page up now on our screen share. It's running really slowly, so I don't think I'm going to be able to actually look at it. But I think after this video, we should all try to look into it. I know that it's an app that you can download on your Android iPhone, so that makes it mobile. what Christina was saying, yeah, you can look at reports, records, behavior, attendance. So yeah, maybe, and they are saying in the description that it's used for higher education as well. So maybe that is the alternative.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
used it a few. Oh, go
Go ahead. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I used it a few years ago just for grade tracking when we were in Morocco, and it was great. My issue with it is it didn't, I guess it wasn't easy to transport from the app to our grading system then.
Okay.
I haven't used it since then, so it was kind of, I mean, I guess it's better than paper, obviously, and it's if you're into tech. And same here. I was just playing around with it for the first time in a couple years. You have to manually input all the rosters, which is pretty time consuming. We use Power School now, which is, I'm not going to get into that. That's a nightmare to begin with. But so trying to, get the rosters from that into TeacherKit, yeah, it just seems like it would be somewhat time consuming to get it going.
Okay.
If you're able to, not manually, but automatically upload rosters and all that, it seems like it would be a good way to go. So,
Okay. Sorry, Christine, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say Michael's probably right. Ix situation and say a public high school in the US would be slightly different because that kind of education still is mandatory. So if your kids get to high school and they still have behavioral problems, they're probably something that you have to deal with as the teacher. And, it's slightly a different situation. So a classroom management tool might still be useful. But a lot of, since a lot of us teach either high schoolers or adult students, I mean, I have all adult students, classroom management tools are really meant for younger kids. I was curious if anybody had looked into any of the other apps to see if there were good resources for like middle school and younger kids.
Good
I
question.
haven't. I teach secondary, so I was mostly looking at it in that context. But just to circle back a little bit, in our school, definitely the behavior tracking aspect of both of the apps would be useful because we do have a lot of behavioral issues with class conduct and so on. So for us, it would be useful.
Very good. Anybody else have any comments on either Dojo or TeacherKit? Juan, Janelle.
I have one last
Yeah,
comment on
please do,
TeacherKit. I guess it also depends. When I use TeacherKit, well, it would be very hard to use now because we are a standards-based school. So trying to, I guess, manually, and I teach PE, so manually, doing grades every day, it would somehow have to align for that. And so I guess I haven't really played around with it enough recently, but when I used it, it wouldn't have matched up and worked with the standards-based for that.
Okay,
So
nice. So I just thought about AJ right now. He's the only person missing right now. Is that correct? Because Daniel's been MIA for a while. So, what he should do maybe is just view the video like a normal VC and maybe comment on our comments. Maybe that's the way that we can incorporate him, so we all can kind of get this going grade-wise. As far as the criteria for this assignment, are we touching base on all of it? Because I can't see the page.
We're not quite done yet.
Yeah.
We're supposed to come to a consensus about two other apps. So we've
okay.
done Class Dojo and TeacherKit, which is why I was kind of trying to circle around on some of the other
What about
tools.
some of the Google apps, like the Google Classroom app, or I know it's not necessarily like communication based per se academically, but what if there was some kind of Facebook group where you could have your whole class be a part of? That way, it's another option to communicate with, you know? Has anybody ever done that before with the class?
I haven't done it with class, but I did it with all the teachers at the preschool that I worked. We did a private Facebook group where we could share ideas and articles, where we could spread news about the class. That it was kind of a nightmare to get everybody's
Yeah, like
email
this project.
connected to their Facebook. Exactly. So it took about 2 months to even get 25 teachers on the same page. So if you tried to do that with a whole class of parents, I think it would be kind of a hassle.
But it shouldn't be.
Christine, I've done the same
Oh, go
thing.
ahead, Janelle. Sorry.
I'm a part of like a teachers group too on Facebook, and it sends it to your work email, and it's just so much, I feel like, spam that you're getting to your emails as well with all the promotions, and it sometimes for me it's just too much.
Yeah, but there are ways to go about that too. You could, I don't know, block out the notifications. As far as emails go, you know, if you know, you should have a consistent email. So maybe having only, I don't know, the Gmails, or I don't know, like for me, like I don't have issues with the bridging the gap with technology, but you never know what kind of problems arise. But it shouldn't be difficult to get a list of emails, input them, and then, you know what I mean? Like, isn't it supposed to be instantaneous? So, but
You haven't been a teacher for a little while, I think. We're also drifting a little bit away from the topic, which is monitoring tools for student behavior. I think we're veering more into parent communication, which is definitely important, but it's a little off
I mean,
topic.
but you could communicate through email to the parents on behavior as well. It's another outlet of communication, I think. So, but how would you like to get back on board with the topic? Any other ideas?
Well, did
Well,
any of them look at any other apps at all? I had a brief flick through the other ones. You know, the teacher's class behavior app, the free one. Super duper data tracker. I had a quick look at that. Did anyone look at those at all?
No. Do you want to explain some of those first, Michael?
No, I looked
at
at
teacher's class behavior.
What was that, Christine?
I did the same thing. I sort of browsed through the others. I looked at teacher's class behavior. I looked at Too Noisy. Definitely saw some pros and cons with those. So what other? Yeah, I mean, did anybody look through?
What?
I looked at Too Noisy as well. If a few other people did, we can discuss that one and describe it.
So what is Too Noisy? Alicia, then you start maybe describing what it is, and maybe Christine can add on to that.
Yeah, sure. So Too Noisy is really geared towards really young children, elementary and primary kids, and it's an app that can be used. Actually, it was on iPad and phones, but it seems you can use it on your computer as well. It's just got like a graphic with a gauge, and it works with your microphone. How that's this thing. And you can adjust how sensitive it is, and I suppose the teacher can use it by like maybe projecting it so the whole class can see it. And you can set goals for if they're quiet for a certain amount of time. Let's say 1 minute or 2 minutes, 5 minutes, they get a star. And get stars for a bigger reward, or if the class gets too noisy, all the stars get wiped out, and then the screen gets like a breaking glass graphic. So I think for younger kids, it's a nice visual and auditory way to keep track and self-monitor noise levels in the room.
Nice. That sounds really cool. It almost reminds me of the talk light. I think that's what it's called. It's like it looks like a stoplight, and then the kids' noise level will get to like a red, and that's just the danger zone, I guess. So sounds very similar to that. Christine, did you see anything with the Too Noisy that you might be able to utilize with your classroom, or that you liked?
Well, my class is all adults. We don't really need to struggle to keep the noise down. I have more of a more of a difficult time getting the
Okay.
noise up. But so I think this is really a good tool for, again, younger learners. The biggest drawback that I could see is that having that graphic, because you can project the graphic onto like your smart board, have like a demo where they show that in a classroom. But so I could see that you'd get maybe 1 or 2 kids in class to make it their purpose to just kind of max out the amount of noise just so they can see the graphic change. So I'd be interested in hearing, because Yuan and Janelle work with younger learners, and Janelle especially, you know, working with special ed kids, I'd be interested if you use the noise tracker and if you think it would be more on with the students that you teach.
It would probably be pretty cool for my class, but I haven't used it yet at all. So, I mean, I'll look into it, but I don't like doing more than I have to be honest.
Fair. Yuan? Oh, yeah, there you go, Yuan.
There you go. It's okay. I never used it before, so. Yeah.
Is it something that you might want to try to use?
No, some, such as a tool called Schoology. Teachers can create classes, give assignments, give feedbacks, upload grades, and so on. So teachers also can give feedback regarding students' behavior. That's what
Okay, great. Let's move on to talking more behavioral. So, with these apps, we talked a little bit of their functions. Let's talk about what exactly because everybody's teaching right now, I think, except for me. So, how are you using behavior? I mean, we kind of went over more secondary. It's a little bit more difficult to implement some of these ideas. John, how about for behavior with you? I know PE can be a good area to talk about as far as participation and behaving in that subject.
Yeah, for elementary, I would say 95% of the kids want to be there, girls and boys. So, in a roundabout way, we let them know that they're wasting their own time by talking, and so they're wasting their fun time essentially. You know, PE is supposed to be fun, and it is fun. So it kind of settles itself out by going about that route. Because I always, you know, do the countdown. Oh, we've wasted 2 minutes of PE now, waiting for you guys to quiet down. I haven't started my lesson yet, kind of stuff. So obviously that works for, you know, first, second, and third graders for the most part, kindergartners. The older kids, it works, but not as well. So we have for secondary, we have a class or a school-wide initiative that they have to sign these reflective reminders, and 3 of them they get a detention. So there's that aspect, and obviously when you get into secondary, not everybody's really into PE. You know, they're just not a thing. So I'm not naive to think that everybody's excited to come to PE every day. So secondary is a little more challenging in that regard.
Hey guys, I have to go, but do I need to like input anything on the consensus, or did we already do that?
I think we're kind of where we need to be. We've hit the positives and negatives of a few different apps. So I think you're good, unless you have something particular, like a comment or about behavioral tracking in your class that you want to add.
No, it's
See
okay.
you,
Thanks,
Janelle.
guys. Bye.
See you, Janelle.
So to wrap, go ahead. Mike.
Actually, we should take time. How
We're
long
at
is the
30
video
minutes,
right
so
now?
I think we've passed the threshold of the video. So let's wrap up. And
We'll wrap up.
I think any other, there's obvious on my end, I need to research more. I'm sure we can all look at a few more options, and maybe in the discussion forum we can add on to the video. But we have a good starting point, and I think we fulfilled the assignment at least. But it's kind of cool to be able to talk to you guys outside of the classroom, because a lot of the times, you know, we're more listening and viewing videos, and so it's kind of cool to try something new, I guess. So, any other final words from everybody before we end this? I think we're good. Awesome. Well, thank you for meeting up, and we made it work. And next time we do this, we know how to manage it and get it working faster. So, good work, and have happy Sunday, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay,
Alright,
I'll
take it
post,
easy, guys.
I'm
Have a
gonna
good
post this
week.
video
Bye.
right now.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.